Cornstarch is the precursor to corn syrup. Cornstarch is found inside of a corn kernel. So a corn kernel shaped something like this, and you have starch and gluten areas around here that sort of protect the germ area of the corn kernel, which contains the genetic material. So 62% of the corn kernel is starch. And it can be removed from the kernel and used to produce corn syrup. Cornstarch is turned into corn syrup through a series of chemical reactions. So imagine a large vat. You've stuck cornstarch in here and you've added water. So cornstarch is a complex carbohydrate, which means it has these long chains, 300 to 600 glucose units long. And so you imagine each blue dot is a glucose unit within a long chain that makes up cornstarch. So within this vat, you have cornstarch, this is its chemical structure, plus water. So these two together will create what is called a starch slurry. The first enzyme added, the water is still here. I'm just going to leave it at the bottom so you can follow me on the rest of the chemical reactions. So here's your cornstarch. So the first enzyme that gets added is alpha amylase. Alpha amylase is going to come in and randomly chop, and you'll have oligosaccharides left. So now they're oligosaccharides, and you've already added one enzyme to chop, and that was alpha amylase. And then the second one added is glucoamylase. And so glucoamylase is going to go in and leave you with single glucose units plus your water. And that is where you have corn syrup. So corn syrup can really be considered glucose syrup and is often scientifically referred to as glucose syrup. So we can use these terms interchangeably because the liquid that is left after these enzymatic reactions are, at its core, glucose molecules and water to create this glucose syrup, also known as corn syrup. Alone, corn syrup can be used to soften texture and enhance flavor, and is often used as a food additive. But it was found scientifically that corn syrup could be isomerized to contain more fructose and less glucose, in which case it is considered high fructose corn syrup. So, do you remember before when I said that the corn syrup contained glucose units and water? Well, they found out that scientifically you could isomerize this glucose structure and it could be turned into fructose. I'll put them as stars to represent fructose. So now, when you change glucose to fructose, it tastes very sweet. High enough sweetness that it can be used as a replacement for actual sugar, even though it came from corn. A dextrose equivalent is an estimate of the percentage of reducing sugars found in a starch compound. So we had our starch compound, and we went through and hydrolysis reactions occurred. And as the molecule gets shorter, there are more reducing ends. So an increase in reducing ends has an effect on what is known as a dextrose equivalent. Corn syrup is a cost-efficient way to produce an artificial sweetener. Nobody can argue with that. But what some people do have a problem with is the fact that high fructose corn syrup is digested biologically in a different way than natural sugars would be. Because of this, the way that high fructose corn syrup is digested, it can trigger lipogenesis in the liver, which can signal your liver to start creating fats. So the link between obesity and high fructose corn syrup has placed a lot of negative attention on high fructose corn syrup and the use of corn syrups and artificial sweeteners in general. Really, it is up to the consumer at his discretion whether or not he chooses to consume high fructose corn syrup, but at least he can be educated about it.